Book of Matthew, chapter 18 and verse 21. Then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times.
It ain't nowhere that I can't go. You see me, you see him, I'm like children in the flame though. It's because I follow him though. He the light to my feet, it's like flames what I follow. But let me stop for you heathos. I've been crossed many times, so yes, I know the pain, yo. And forgive is where I ain't go. Told the brother get in line, giving shots like a needle. I've been sinning for real, murder, but I ain't killed for real. Shot for shot to seal the deal. Now I'm here, just swallow the pill. Now I'm woozy, don't know how to act. Devil is mine, I'm fully attacked. My spirit to flesh had taken it back, and I ain't thinking about bringing it back. Tap, tap, I think I ain't hear it right. The Lord come like a thief at night, but I ain't believe the hype. Yeah, like Saul when I seen the night, but had me feeling like Paul when I found the light. Cap, 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 cap. You say you love your people, but that's cap, cap, cap. You swear you don't be lying, but that's cap, cap, cap. You say you did atonement, but that's cap, cap, cap. I say cap, 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 cap. You say you love your nation, but that's cap, cap, cap. You swear you done with envy, but that's cap, cap, cap. You say you did atonement, but that's cap, cap, cap. I say.
So Peter said, if a brother sin against you, he offends, he does something unlawful. Could have took your money, could have tail bearer again, any of those types. How many times should I forgive? 7 times? Because 7 was a complete number. What did the matter?
Jesus said unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7.
All right. Shalom, shalom. Most high in Christ bless. Happy Sabbath. I'm Brother Jacob.
Brother Jeremiah.
And tonight's class, we're doing the book of Tobit. We're going back into the Apocrypha, and we're going to deal with the book of Tobit. I don't know how long tonight's class is going to be. We're just going to touch on a couple of chapters. There's right much that's within these first couple of chapters. Might hit chapter 1, chapter 2, a little piece of 3 maybe. But before we even get into that, I want to touch on something because, you know, sometimes brothers and sisters have questions. So I want to answer this real easy question that I was asked pertaining to. So you know how Old Testament cats, they don't believe in Jesus. So what they like to do, let's go to Deuteronomy 24. What they like to do, they like to go to this scripture. It said, Jesus could not die for your sins. So Deuteronomy 24:16, read that.
Shalom, happy Sabbath. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 24 and verse 16. Mm-hmm. The fathers shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin.
Right. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. So what is that really pertaining to? And it's really simple. First, let's go to Exodus 21 and 16. Yeah, 21 and 16.
The book of Exodus, chapter 21 and verse 16. Mm-hmm. And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death.
So the person that's caught stealing a man and selling him shall be put to death. Read the next verse.
Verse 17. And he that curseth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death.
So the question is, if you have cursed your mother or father, or like in verse 14 or 15, if you have smitten your mother or your father, can someone take your place? No, you have to be put to death. That's what this is talking about. Let's go to Leviticus 20. Sometimes, I tell you, some people just don't have any understanding. Give me verse 13. Yeah, Leviticus 20 and 13. Some people don't have any understanding as to what the scriptures are talking about. Yeah, verse 13.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 20 and verse 13. If a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them.
So, can your son take your place right here? Or your father take your place right here? No. No. Go ahead, keep going.
Verse 14. And if a man take a wife and her mother, it is wickedness. They shall be burnt with fire, both he and they, that there be no wickedness among you.
So can someone take any of their place? No. Not the daughter, not the mother, not the man. Keep going.
Verse 15. And if a man lie with a beast, he shall surely be put to death, and ye shall slay the beast.
So not even the father of the beast, he can't take his place either. So if you commit a sin worthy of death, no one can take your place. It's that simple. It's that simple. Now let's go to Ezekiel chapter 3 like we usually do and get started. Some of these things be just crazy. Some of these doctrines. But Lord's will, we're going to try to bring the truth out whenever it's possible. So Ezekiel chapter 3 and verse 11.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 3 and verse 11. And go, get thee to them of the captivity, unto the children of thy people, and speak unto them, and tell them, thus saith the Lord God, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear.
Right, so we have to go to our people of the captivity. Wherever we are, go to our people and tell them, thus saith the Lord God. We know you so-called blacks, you so-called Hispanics of Negro and Indian descent, we are the children of Israel. We have to go to these people, tell them to repent and return to the living God, the God of Israel. Now verse 17.
Verse 17. Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word at my mouth, and give them warning from me.
So go to Israel and give Israel warning from the Lord himself. Now, today's topic, Tobit in the Apocrypha. Sometimes people will bombard you and say, that's not in my Bible. Right, you're right, it's not. Because the Protestants took it out. Then they'll say, oh, it's not God-breathed. You don't need that for salvation. It's not salvific. We do not care about the Edomites' terms. What we're about is teaching our people repentance. Out of our books. How no one else can tell us what's legit and what's not. The Spirit of the Lord is given to us to decipher his words. I'm going to say this. So years ago, when I first found the truth, and I was just talking to anybody, and I remember I was talking to this Edomite woman at 7-Eleven. And she goes, well, have you ever read the book of Jasher and Enoch? And I was like, what? No, I never even heard of them. She said, well, I'll let you see mine. So I was like, okay. So I went back the next day, and she gave me the books, and I went out in my van, and I read the first page. I forget which one it was. I read the first page. I said, this don't even sound right. The Lord don't sound like this. And I ain't know nothing. All I knew is that I was Israel. That the curses fit me. And that we've been lied to. But anyway. Like you can tell it's not of the Lord. They try to emulate him, but they're not. So let's go to the book of Tobit in the Apocrypha. That would be right behind 2nd Esdras. If you don't have one of these can get pretty expensive. I think I paid like $130 for mine. but you can get a standalone one for maybe 11 or 12 bucks. And if you don't have that, you can try to download one or just go to King James Bible online. They have it in there, on King James Online. So the book of Tobit, chapter 1 and verse 1. Oh, no, first, give me Proverbs 4 and 2. How could I forget this? Because remember now, the key to understanding what is God-breathed is his law. That's what the breath of God is. Yeah, Proverbs 4 and 2.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 4 and verse 2. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law.
That's the doctrine. Forsake ye not my law. So you got some of these other books, like there's 3 books of Enoch. Let's just be honest. There's 3 of them. And Enoch was not around to write any of them. So it's written by imposters. There's many books that were written and they're called pseudographical. That's another story. But you know what's legit with God's laws, statutes, and commandments in it. That's what's legit. That's the doctrine. Now Tobit 1 and verse 1.
The book of Tobit in the Apocrypha, chapter 1 and verse 1. The book of the words of Tobit, son of Tobiel, the son of Anel, the son of Adul, the son of Gabal, of the seed of Azael, of the tribe of Naphtali.
Of the tribe of Naphtali. Remember last week we went into Ezra and we read Ezra's lineage and the tribe he was from. Give me Genesis 30. Somehow this ain't legit, but he's telling you what tribe he come from, what seed he comes from. I'm sorry, Genesis 30. I said Deuteronomy, didn't I? Well, I did. My bad. I went to Deuteronomy. So Genesis 30. Genesis 30 and 7. It started 7.
The book of Genesis, chapter 30 and verse 7. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again and bare Jacob a second son. Mm-hmm. And Rachel said, with great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali.
She called his name Naphtali. So that's the tribe that Tobit is from. Let's go back. Right. Yeah, he says he's of the tribe of Naphtali. Now, Tobit 1 and verse 2.
The book of Tobit, chapter 1 and verse 2. Who in the time of Enemessar, king of the Assyrians, was led captive out of Thisbe, which is at the right hand of that city, which is called properly Naphtali, in Galilee, above Aser.
Right. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be doing some fact checking. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do some fact checking. Now, in the time of Enemessar, king of the Assyrians. So let's go to 2 Kings 15 first. Now, we're going to go to 2 Kings 15 first. Let's go to Matthew 4. Spirit on me. Let's go to Matthew 4 in verse 15. Matter of fact, start at 13.
4 and 13. All right.
Yeah.
Book of St. Matthew, chapter 4 and verse 13.
Because some people, like you were saying on the way over here, some people be like, oh, that's the Old Testament. Right. And like you said, Christ is fulfilling things that's written in the Old Testament. So watch this, verse 13.
Book of St. Matthew, chapter 4, verse 13. And leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt in Capernaum, which is upon the sea coast and the borders of Zebulun and Naphtali.
Naphtali, right. That's his tribe. Go ahead.
Verse 14, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet.
So it might be fulfilled, which was written by the prophet. That's what's going on in the New Testament. You've seen the fulfillment of prophecies, like even the coming of Christ himself. Go ahead.
Verse 15, the land of Zebulun and the land of Nephilim, by the way of the sea, beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles.
Right, beyond the sea, beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. There's something to that, but we're not going to touch on that. Now, 2 Kings 15 and 29. So what that's talking about is right here where we're going. 2 Kings 15 and 29. Yep.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 15 and verse 29. In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, came Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria.
Right. So during the days of Pekah, when Pekah was king of Israel, Tiglath-Pileser came, the king of Assyria. Go ahead.
And took Ejon and Abel-Beth-Maachah,
Go ahead.
and Jonah, and Kadesh, and Hazar, and Gilead and Galilee, all the land of Naphtali, and carried them captive to Assyria.
Right. Carried them captive to Assyria. So Naphtali's one of those. Naphtali, that's his tribe. Now, since we're here, jump over to chapter 17, verse 3. Because these names, you're going to hear these names when we're reading in Tobit. Verse 3.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 17 and verse 3. Against him came up Salmanessar, king of Assyria, and Hosea became his servant and gave him presents.
Right, so now it's Shalmaneser. Now, the Tobit, the Apocrypha, was in Greek. So it's translated, and some of these names are slightly different. So in Tobit, it's going to call him Enimaster, but it's the same person, Shalmaneser. Now, verse 5.
Verse 5. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years.
Go ahead.
In the 9th year of Hosea the king of Assyria, took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halah, in harbor by the river of Gozan, in the cities of the Medes.
Right. Can you see if you can pull up an old map of Media? So, like you read in 2nd Ezra 13, how the northern kingdom was taken on the other side into cities of the Medes, just like it says here. It says it in chapter 18 too. They took them into cities of the Medes. One of the cities also is Nineveh. We're going to read that in Tobit. Okay. We looked at one before. Just basically, it was in the area of the Euphrates and the Tigris over there. I know we pulled up one before. Yeah, right there where it says Median Empire. That's good enough. And if you can blow it up, yeah. Yeah, you know Esau. Nah, they slick though. Yeah, there it is. So I just want to be able to blow it up enough so you can see the rivers. See, so even to this day, we have brothers and sisters over there. At some point, I'll bring that out. It's in a book that was written in the 1800s. They know that there are hundreds of thousands of our people over there. In Afghanistan, Pakistan, that area over there. There's you had black Jews and white Jews. And the black ones, they knew of 60 different settlements of their own people over in that area that were brought over there in captivity. The white ones never saw any slavery. So where you see media, you see Susiana, which is Susa, the Chaldean Empire. That border right there you see between Media and Chaldea is pretty much right where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers are. So our people were carried over there. Nineveh is in that area in between Media and Chaldea. All this stuff is important in knowing where our people were. So the northern kingdom was carried over there. You can drop that now. You read verse 5 and 6. Now, chapter 18. Go to chapter 18. In verse 9, I'm just double checking. Make sure I don't want to miss nothing. Oh, yeah. Yeah, verse 9. Go straight to verse 9. 2 Kings 18 and verse 9.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 18 and verse 9. And it came to pass in the 4th year of King Hezekiah, which was the 7th year of Hosea, son of Elah, king of Israel, that Salmanessar, king of Assyria, came up against Samaria and besieged it.
Right, go ahead. 11. Go to 11.
Verse 11. And the king of Assyria did carry away Israel unto Assyria, and put them in Halah, in the harbor, by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes.
Right, so they did it again. Now, verse 13.
Verse 13. Now in the 14th year of King Hezekiah did Sennacherib, king of Assyria, come up against all the fenced cities of Judah and took them.
So these kings of Assyria, they took the northern kingdom captive and carried them into these lands. Now, if any brother in Kemet or anything like that come and say the Bible isn't legit, take them to this and ask them about these kings. Ask them about pharaohs. Ask them, are these people real? And then you can be a Google scholar then. It's that easy. So now back to let's go back to Tobit. So what he's saying is 100% accurate. Let's read verse 2 again. So that inner master is Shalmaneser.
The book of Tobit, chapter 1 and verse 2. Who in the time of Emanessar, king of the Assyrians, was led captive out of Thisbe, which is at the right hand of that city, which is called properly Naphtali, in Galilee above Asir.
Asher. So that would be the tribe of Asher. Go ahead.
Verse 3. I, Tobit, have walked all the days of my life in the way of the truth and justice, and I did many alms deeds to my brethren and my nation, who came with me to Nineveh, into the land of the Assyrians.
So he's in Nineveh. Now, Jonah, chapter 3. I had to bookmark Jonah because that's one of the books I can never find. Jonah chapter 3 and verse 1. Page 1077.
Chapter 3?
Yeah, chapter 3 and 1.
The book of Jonah, chapter 3 and verse 1. And the word of the Lord came unto Jonah the second time, saying, Arise, go unto Nineveh, the great city, and preach unto it the preaching that I bid thee. So Jonah arose and went unto Nineveh, according to the word of the Lord. Now Nineveh was an exceeding great city, of 3 days' journey.
Right, you good. So we can drop this now. So Tobit and other brothers from the northern kingdom are there in captivity. Now back to Tobit, chapter 1. Yeah. So my brethren and my nation who came with me to Nineveh into the land of the Assyrians. Now verse 4.
The book of Tobit, chapter 1 and verse 4. And when I was in mine own country, in the land of Israel, being but young, all the tribe of Naphtali, my father fell from the house of Jerusalem.
Fell from the house of Jerusalem. Now he's going into the split. Everything he's saying is 100% legit, and we're gonna fact check everything that he's saying. Watch. Go ahead.
Which was chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, that all the tribes should sacrifice there, where the temple of habitation of the Most High was consecrated and built for all ages.
So first, give me 2 Chronicles 6 and 6. So is what he's saying true? So he said his father's house fell out from the house of Jerusalem, which was chosen out of all tribes of Israel, that all tribes should sacrifice there. Go ahead. 2 Chronicles 6 and 6.
The book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 6 and verse 6. But I have chosen Jerusalem, that my name might be there, and have chosen David to be over my people Israel.
Right. So Jerusalem was chosen. Now, give me John 4. So this woman of Samaria, which is a northern kingdom woman, in John chapter 4, watch what she going to say the same thing. Give me verse 20.
The book of St. John, chapter 4 and verse 20. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship.
Right. Her fathers worshipped in that mountain. They were worshiping Baal in that mountain. But Christ, she's saying Christ told her we ought to be doing it in Jerusalem. Read verse 21 too.
Verse 21. Jesus saith unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father.
Right, because everybody was going to go into captivity. Now you can drop that. Now let's go to. I kind of want to go. Yeah, let's go to go back to Tobit 1 and read verse 5.
The book of Tobit, chapter 1 and verse 5. Now all the tribes which together revolted in the house of my father Naphtali sacrificed unto the heifer Baal.
Right, so what he's talking about, he's talking about 1 Kings chapter 12. Let's go there. Precept upon precept. So if you're in Christianity, you have no idea what he's talking about. So let's go to verse 20. 19. Start at 19.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 12 and verse 19.
He said rebelled, right?
Rebelled.
Oh, let me double check, y'all. Let me double check. Yeah, he said revolted. Same thing. He said revolted. So, yeah, verse 19.
Book of 1 Kings, chapter 12 and verse 19. So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day. And it came to pass, when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation and made him king over all Israel.
So that's Northern Kingdom. Go ahead.
There was none that followed the house of David, but the tribe of Judah only.
As it was prophesied. And in like now, in the time of Acts and the time of Christ, they went to the tribe of Judah first, just like we have to do today. Judah has to wake up first so that the other tribes don't magnify themselves against them. Go ahead.
Verse 21. And when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Judah with the tribe of Benjamin, 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors to fight against the house of Israel, to bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam, the son of Solomon.
Right, so you can hold it right there. So they were about to go to war against each other. The Lord is like, no, don't do that thing, because this whole thing is because of me. He caused it to happen. He prophesied it. Now, jump down to verse 26. So Jeroboam is thinking in his mind, well, you know, we have feast days 3 times a year, and we're supposed to go to Jerusalem and make sacrifices and all that. So he's thinking, if I don't do something, then when the people go to Jerusalem to worship, they're going to turn on me and kill me. So pick up right there, verse 26.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 12, and verse 26. And Jeroboam said in his heart, now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Lord, even unto Rehoboam, king of Judah, and they shall kill me, and go again to Rehoboam, king of Judah.
Right, so he's afraid that they would reunite and kill his behind. So keep going.
Verse 28. Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold.
Baal, go ahead.
And said unto them, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
Complete madness. Complete madness. That's idolatry. You're supposed to be put to death for idolatry. So he said it's too much. It's too much for you to go all the way to Jerusalem. So worship these golden calves that we made. Complete madness. Like he doing right. Keep going. Verse 29.
Verse 29. And he set the one in Bethel, and the other put he in Dan.
Keep going.
And this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan.
Verse 32.
Verse 32. And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month, on the 15th day of the month, like unto the feast that is in Judah. And he offered upon the altar. So did he in Bethel, sacrificing unto the calves that he had made.
Right. So instead of the feast in the 7th month, the tabernacles, he made a feast for the 8th month. It's kind of like Christianity. Now, verse 33.
Verse 33. So he offered upon the altar, which he had made in Bethel, the 15th day of the 8th month, even in the month which he had devised of his own heart.
His own heart. Go ahead.
And ordained a feast unto the children of Israel. And he offered upon the altar and burnt incense.
Right. So now back to Tobit. So this is what Tobit's talking about. Yeah, read 5 again.
The book of Tobit, chapter 1 and verse 5. Now all the tribes which together revolted in the house of my father Naphtali sacrificed unto the heifer Baal.
So that little verse 5, we just read all that stuff, and that's covered in verse 5. Just that one little verse. But if you don't know the Old Testament or about the split, how would you understand any of this stuff? If you don't know commandments, how would you understand any of this? Now, verse 6. Because Tobit was righteous, though. Go ahead.
Verse 6. But I alone went often to Jerusalem at the feast, as it was ordained unto all the people of Israel by an everlasting decree.
And so he decided he going to obey God rather than men. Go ahead.
Having the first fruits and tenths of increase, with that which was first shorn. And them gave I at the altar to the priests, the children of Aaron.
My goodness. So Sunday, we're gonna have class. It's already done. It's gonna roll Sunday, and we kind of touched on first fruits. You know, and Tobit's saying the same thing. Now, that's a commandment, first fruits. and he going to keep the commandments. So everything that Tobit is saying is lining up with the history of Israel and with the laws of Israel. Keep going. Yeah, like he says, I gave at the altar to the priests the children of Aaron. The children of Aaron, the Levites, they the ones that did the sacrifices. Those are your princes. Go ahead.
Verse 7. The first tenth part of all increase I gave to the sons of Aaron.
Now, you know the pastors understand that right there. You know that tenth. Go ahead.
Who ministered at Jerusalem. Another tenth part I sold away and went and spent it every year at Jerusalem.
Go ahead.
Verse 8. And the third I gave unto them to whom it was meet, as Deborah my father's mother had commanded me, because I was left an orphan by my father.
Right. So you suppose it. That's another. You know what? Let's go to Deuteronomy 14. So we have laws in place to take care of our own people. Just complete madness in Christianity. So give me Deuteronomy 14. Start at 26. Now, start at 25. Let's give them some context.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 14 and verse 25. Then shalt thou turn it into money, and bind up the money in thine hand, and shall go unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose.
So whatever, if you had to make this journey, and instead of taking your firstlings, the increase of your fruit, the increase of your flocks, you would sell them and take the money and go to Jerusalem to the money changers, and then use that money to purchase oxen, sheep, whatever it is that you wanted to sacrifice or you wanted to offer. Go ahead.
Verse 26. And thou shalt bestow that money for whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, for oxen, or for sheep, or for wine, or for strong drink, or for whatsoever thy soul desires.
So ask your pastor, is this what he doing with the money? Go ahead. Is he buying oxen? Go ahead.
And thou shalt eat there before the Lord thy God, and thou shalt rejoice, thou and thine household.
Come on, for 27.
And the Levite that is within thy gates, thou shalt not forsake him, for he hath no part nor inheritance with thee.
So you had to take care of him. Go ahead.
Verse 28. At the end of 3 years thou shalt bring forth all the tithe of thine increase the same year, and shall lay it up within thy gates.
Remember that it said the end of 3 years, not the end of the week, every week. Go ahead. Here's the point, 29.
Verse 29. And the Levite, because he hath no part nor inheritance with thee, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow, which are within thy gates, shall come, and shall eat, and be satisfied, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the work of thine hand which thou doest.
So we took care of our own. It's in our law. He was fatherless. Now Exodus 22. Exodus 22 and 23, I believe. We took care of our own, and you weren't supposed to mistreat them. Verse 21. That's what I want.
Book of Exodus, chapter 22 and verse 21. Thou shalt neither vex a stranger, nor oppress him, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt.
Come on.
Ye shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child.
Right. Not only are you supposed to take care of them, you're not supposed to afflict them either. Watch.
If thou afflict them in any wise, and they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry.
So he will hear their cry. Come on.
And my wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword, and your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless.
Right. So he will bring the same thing back on you and your wife and your children. That's righteous. Right. Right. Now let's go back to Tobit. Keep in mind now, Tobit's not supposed to be God-breathed. But the law is all up in his junk and the history of our people. Now, verse 9.
The book of Tobit, chapter 1 and verse 9. Furthermore, when I was come to the age of a man, I married Anna of mine own kindred, and of her I begat Tobias.
Deuteronomy 7 and 3. Oh, my goodness.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 3. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly.
Right. Now back to Tobit, chapter 1. So everything he's doing, everything he's talking about is lining up perfectly with the rest of the Bible. Verse 10, yeah.
Book of Tobit, chapter 1 and verse 10. And when we were carried away captives to Nineveh,
Just like we read in Kings. Go ahead.
all my brethren and those that were of my kindred did eat of the bread of the Gentiles.
Come on.
But I kept myself from eating, because I remembered God with all my heart. And the Most High gave me grace and favor before Ebenezer, so that I was his purveyor.
Right, so he had a job with Shalmaneser. Go ahead.
Verse 14. And I went into Media and left in trust with Gabal, the brother of Gabrias, at Rages, a city of Media, 10 talents of silver. Verse 15. Now when Ebenezer was dead, Sennacherib, his son, reigned in his stead.
So we went to one verse to show that Sennacherib was another one of the kings that took Israel captive, just to prove that everything he's saying is true. Go ahead.
Whose estate was troubled, that I could not go into Media. And in the time of Ebenezer, I gave many alms to my brethren, and gave my bread to the hungry.
So he's doing, oh my goodness. So here, we're going to sidetrack again. Just these laws is popping up in my mind. I'm hoping I remember this right. Deuteronomy 15. Sounds like Tobit knows the commandments much better than these Christian pastors. Yep, start at verse 7. Deuteronomy 15 and verse 7.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 15 and verse 7. If there be among you a poor man of one of thy brethren within any of thy gates in thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not harden thine heart,
Right.
nor shut thine hand from thy poor brother.
Right, go ahead.
But thou shalt open thine hand wide unto him, and shalt surely lend him sufficient for his need in that which he wanteth.
Go ahead.
Beware that there be not a thought in thy wicked heart, saying, the 7th year, the year of release, is at hand, and thine eye be evil against thy poor brother, and thou givest him naught, and he cry unto the Lord against thee, and it be a sin unto thee. Thou shalt surely give him, and thine heart shall not be grieved when thou givest unto him.
Keep going.
Because that for this thing the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thy works.
Right, you take care of your people, the Lord gonna bless you. Remember, so in the New Testament it said, love covers a multitude of sins. Go ahead.
And in all that thou puttest thine hand unto.
Go ahead.
For the poor shall never cease out of the land.
Right, we poor. I know I am. Go ahead, go ahead.
Therefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt open thine hand wide unto thy brother, to thy poor, and to thy needy in thy land.
Right, so we good. Now, back to Tobit. Funny, Tobit knows the Bible much better than Christian pastors.
17.
Yeah, 17.
The book of Tobit, chapter 1 and verse 17. And my clothes to the naked, and if I saw any of my nation dead, or cast about the walls of Nineveh, I buried him.
So this is something that was going on there. They were killing our people and would not allow them to be buried. And he was sneaking and burying them. Go ahead.
Verse 18. And if the king Sennacherib...
Hold on. Let me say this. That's true persecution. That ain't somebody saying that Christians are not intelligent. Or saying that they have to honor transgender weddings. That's not persecution. This is true persecution. You couldn't even bury your people. Go ahead.
Verse 18. And if the king Sennacherib had slain any when he was come and fled from Judea, I buried them privily, for in his wrath he killed many. But the bodies were not found when they were sought for of the king.
Right, because he cared about his people and he was sneaking in and having them buried and burying them. He could get put to death for this. Go ahead.
Verse 19. And when one of the Ninevites went and complained of me to the king, that I buried them and hid myself, understanding that I was sought for to be put to death, I withdrew myself for fear.
Right, now, let's go to chapter, hold on. What I got here? I missed something here. Let me double check real quick. Get in the spirit and just get to rolling. Because half of this stuff, I didn't even have it planned. No, I'm not worrying about that. I'm not going to worry about that at all. Okay, so let's go to chapter 2. We're doing good on time. So let's go right here to chapter 2. Yep, verse 1.
Book of Tobit, chapter 2 and verse 1. Now when I was come home again, and my wife Anna was restored unto me, with my son Tobias, in the feast of Pentecost, which is the holy feast of the 7 weeks, there was a good dinner prepared for me, in which I sat down to eat.
So hold on. So what is he talking about? Leviticus 23:15. He said the Feast of Weeks. Yeah, start at 15. Leviticus 23 and 15.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 15. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye bought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord.
So 7 Sabbaths. That's why it's called the Feast of Weeks. Today we call it Pentecost. But it's the Feast of Weeks. That was verse 16 too? Yeah. Finish it out. Finish 16 out.
I finished 16.
Oh, okay. No, you're good. Now let's go back. Yeah, read 1 again.
The book of Tobit, chapter 2 and verse 1. And now when I was come home again, my wife Anna was restored unto me, with my son Tobias, in the feast of Pentecost, which is the holy feast of the 7 weeks. There was a good dinner prepared me, in the which I sat down to eat.
So his wife was in the spirit too. She had it prepared. Now go ahead.
Verse 2. And when I saw abundance of meat, I said to my son, go and bring what poor man soever thou shalt find out of our brethren, who is mindful of the Lord.
Who is mindful of the Lord, meaning who has respect for the Lord and is keeping the commandments. Trying to be righteous. Go ahead.
And lo, I tarry for thee.
Right. So this is a righteous thing. This is a righteous thing to do, to look out for your own people. Go ahead.
Verse 3. But he came again and said, Father, one of our nation is strangled and is cast out in the marketplace.
Damn. So somebody else is dead. Somebody got put to death. Go ahead.
Then before I had tasted of any meat, I started up and took him up into a room until the going down of the sun. Then I returned and washed myself and ate my meat in heaviness, remembering that prophecy of Amos, as he said, your feast shall be turned into mourning, and all your mirth into lamentation.
Why is he, if this ain't God breathed, why is he bringing up the prophet Amos? Everything he's doing is according to God's law. Everything. Watch. Go ahead. Keep going.
Verse 7, therefore I wept, and after the going down of the sun, I went and made a grave and buried him.
Why after the going down of the sun? Because Pentecost was over. It's from even to even. That's a high holy day. Go ahead.
Verse 8, but my neighbors mocked me and said, this man is not yet afraid to be put to death for this matter, who fled away, and yet, lo, he buried the dead again. The same night also I returned from the burial, and slept by the wall of my courtyard, being polluted, and my face was uncovered.
So why didn't he go home? Why didn't he go home? He slept in the courtyard. Numbers 19:22.
The book of Numbers, chapter 19, verse 22. And whatsoever the unclean person toucheth shall be unclean, and the soul that toucheth it shall be unclean until even.
Right, so a dead person is unclean. If you touch a dead person, you are unclean. So he did not go back home. He slept out in the courtyard. Now, keep going, verse 10.
Book of Tobit, chapter 2, and verse 10. And I knew not that there were sparrows in the wall, and mine eyes being open, the sparrows mudded warm dung into my eyes,
Right.
and a whiteness came in mine eyes. And I went to the physicians, but they helped me not. Moreover, Acharias did nourish me until I went to Elamias.
So he was bird dung got in his eye, and he was blinded. Keep going.
Verse 11. And my wife Anna did take women's works to do. And when she had sent them home to the owners, they paid her wages and gave her also besides a kid.
Right, so so now he's disabled. So now she's doing what she can to take care of the family. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And when it was in mine house and began to cry, I said unto her, from whence is this kid? Is it not stolen?
So so he thought she had stolen it. Evidently, the kid was worth more than what he thought her work was, which is probably true. Well, watch what happens. Go ahead.
Render it to the owners, for it is not lawful to eat anything that is stolen.
Right. Go ahead.
But she replied unto me, it was given for a gift more than the wages.
Right. Given for a gift more than the wages. Go ahead.
Howbeit, I did not believe her, but bade her render it to the owners, and I was abashed at her.
Right. So he's upset with her, thinking that she stole it. But no, watch what she says.
But she replied unto me, where are thine alms and thy righteous deeds? Behold, thou and all thy works are known.
Right. So he was burying his people. He was doing whatever, because he said he did all kinds of alms deeds for his people. So don't you think the Most High would look out for him? He's being righteous. So she hitting him with that. Like, all this stuff you've done, what have people done for you in return? So that was given. She didn't steal it. It was worth more than the wages. But because he was righteous and doing deeds and stuff for his people, the Lord looked out for him. His people looked out for him. So now, we're just going to go into a couple of verses here in chapter 3. because then the story is going to go into something else that we're going to do probably next week or whenever we get back on, when it's our turn again. Start at verse 1.
The book of Tobit, chapter 3 and verse 1. Then I, being grieved, did weep, and in my sorrow prayed, saying, O Lord, thou art just, and all thy works and all thy ways are mercy and truth. And thou judgest truly and justly forever.
Right, go ahead.
Remember me and look on me. Punish me not for my sins and ignorances, and the sins of my fathers who have sinned before thee.
So he is in captivity in Nineveh because of what his fathers did. Let's go back to 2 Kings 18 real quick. Now let's go to 17. He breaks it down in 17. So, give me verse. Start at verse 7. We're going to skip through some of this, but I want y'all to get the point. So all the northern kingdom is carried into captivity. Not all of them, because when you read in Chronicles, and we're going to hit that someday soon too, when you read in Chronicles, they had a Passover, and they were inviting those northern kingdom brothers and sisters that didn't get carried away captive to the Passover. So start at verse 7, 2 Kings 17 and verse 7.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 17 and verse 7. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt, from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had feared other gods, and walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel, which they had made.
Right. So Jeroboam had made these golden calves, and he caused them all to be in the midst of sin, to be in idolatry. Keep going.
Verse 9. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their God. And they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city.
My goodness. Jump to verse 12. Oh, no, keep going. Keep going. He just goes into it.
Verse 10. And they set them up images in groves in every high hill and under every green tree. And there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathen, whom the Lord carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger.
You know, sometimes when we're going back and forth with Christians, like talking about the Christmas tree recently, and how they'll say, well, we don't worship the Christmas tree. We don't worship Mary. And be like, well, answer this. Why is it that they burn incense and they burn candles around these things? Why do you have lights on the trees? It's part of pagan worship. Burning incense. This is what they did in their high places where they had their idols and worshiped their idols. These are these things. Even Israel was guilty of this. Verse 12.
Verse 12. For they served idols, wherefore the Lord had said unto them, Ye shall not do this thing.
Now, verse 15.
Verse 15. And they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he testified against them. And they followed vanity and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them.
Just like today. Go ahead.
Concerning whom the Lord had charged them, and they should not do like them.
Just like today. But they try to find excuses. It's the same thing. Worshiping their gods, doing what they do. They're a stumbling block. Go ahead.
Verse 16. And they left all the commandments of the Lord their God, and made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove, and worshipped all the host of heaven, and served Baal.
Just like Christianity today. That's why you got that star on top of the Christmas tree. When you look at Christ and the disciples, they got that glow around their head. Where is that in the scriptures? Go ahead.
Verse 17. And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire, and used divination and enchantments, and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger.
To provoke him to anger. Go ahead.
Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel, and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only.
Right. Now, verse 20. So there's none left. So he had them removed, but not all of them. But most of the northern kingdom was gone. Go ahead.
Verse 20. And the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel, and afflicted them, and delivered them into the hand of spoilers, until he had cast them out of his sight. For he rent Israel from the house of David.
Split the kingdom.
And they made Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, king. And Jeroboam drave Israel from following the Lord, and made them sin a great sin.
That idolatry, worshiping Baal. Go ahead.
For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They departed not from them. Until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight.
Out of his sight. Go ahead.
As he had said by all his servants, the prophets. So was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day.
So they were carried, the northern kingdom was carried out of their land into Assyria unto this day. As you're reading in Kings, so that's talking about 1 Kings 12. And as you read through Kings, you'll see time after time in Israel, northern kingdom Israel, a king would come up and he would do what his fathers did before him. He would do evil in the sight of the Lord. And they kept on and kept on and kept on till the Lord had them removed. He cut off, like it said in 20, he rejected all the seed of Israel, the northern kingdom. They was cut off. So now back to Tobit 3. That's what he's talking about. Read verse 3 again.
The book of Tobit, chapter 3 and verse 3. Remember me and look on me. Punish me not for my sins and ignorances, and the sins of my fathers, for I have sinned before thee.
Right, that's what he talking about. All that stuff. He just summing it up. But all of years and years and years, even fighting against the southern kingdom, even getting Edomites and Syrians to fight against Judah and Benjamin. Go ahead.
Verse 4. For they obeyed not thy commandments, wherefore thou hast delivered us for a spoil, and unto captivity, and unto death, and for a proverb of reproach to all the nations among whom we are dispersed.
Now, ain't that funny? A proverb. Deuteronomy 28 and 37. Hey man, Tobit know the scriptures, yo. He know the scriptures. Go ahead, Deuteronomy 28 and 37.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
Right, and Tobit was scattered among nations that they were led to because of disobedience. All right, back to Tobit. No, 4 is going to do it. We're going to close it out. Let's read 4 again.
The book of Tobit, chapter 3 and verse 4. For they obeyed not thy commandments, wherefore thou hast delivered us for a spoil, and unto captivity, and unto death, and for a proverb of reproach to all the nations among whom we are dispersed.
Right. So everything that we've gone over is 100% proof that this is God-breathed. That breath is the commandments. And Tobit is talking about how his fathers disobeyed and they got sent into captivity for their transgressions, just like the prophecies in Deuteronomy 28. You can't make this stuff up. Somebody tell you this is not God-breathed, ask them what is that breath. Tell me what's that breath. They're not going to be able to answer you. Now, so next time, Lord's will, when we come back, we're going to pick up in this chapter and we're going to go into marriages. We're gonna see if we're gonna go through this book of Tobit is awesome. It's gonna have to be broken into 2 more parts. It's a lot of stuff in here. When you're looking at this, it's so much dealing with the commandments in this thing, how we supposed to behave ourselves, how you supposed to look at a husband, how you supposed to look at a wife, how you look at each other, with their parents, all of that. Awesome examples in this right here. But they took this out, and then they telling you how you should behave, what you should look for in a husband and a wife. I don't care about nobody's career. You should be looking for somebody that's going to serve the Lord, that's going to get into the kingdom with you. Care nothing about no daggone portfolio. You gonna have credit scores and portfolios in the kingdom? No. Oh my goodness. Anyway, all praises to the Most High. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 13 and verse 2 to close out.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 13 and verse 2. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing.
Right. If you don't have charity, you are nothing. Keep going, though.
Verse 3. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing.
Right. It profiteth you nothing. Hey, Tobit had charity. Keep going.
Verse 4. Charity suffereth long, and is kind. Charity envieth not.
It envieth not. If you care about your people, you don't care if they in a high position or a low position. You still have love for your people. Go ahead.
Charity vaunteth not itself. It is not puffed up.
Right. You don't get puffed up, and you don't put yourself above others. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Doth not behave itself unseemly. Seeketh not her own. Is not easily provoked. Thinketh no evil.
Now, I have a fault right here. I'm provoked by Christianity. Keep going.
Rejoice not in iniquity.
Right. Do not rejoice in sin. It's nothing to be proud of. Matter of fact, in Ezekiel said that we're going to look at our past sins and abhor ourselves because of that. Go ahead.
But rejoice in truth. Beareth all things. Believeth all things. Hopeth all things. Endureth all things.
Last verse, verse 8.
Charity never faileth, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away.
Right. But that charity is going to be forever. All praise to the Most High. Christ has had charity on us, and the Father has had charity on us, and grace and mercy. All praises to the Most High. With that, I'm Brother Jacob.
Brother Jeremiah.
For that, we say shalom.
Shalom.
What's going on, you guys? This is Judea, and I have something amazing to tell you guys. I want to introduce to you Showing Charity on Wheels. Showing Charity on Wheels is a non-profit organization helping our communities fight against hunger. It's a mobile food pantry that travels to various locations in Virginia. To name a few, you have Richmond, Petersburg, Chesterfield, and other local areas. Showing Charity on Wheels' goal is to help provide nutrition and healthy food in our communities. To get access to that, you can visit our website at www.showingcharityonwheels.com and fill out the sign-up sheet, or you can also donate on our website, or you can use our Cash App, $ Showing Charity OW. Every helping hand matters. Thank you.
Book of Matthew, chapter 18 and verse 21. Then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times.
It ain't nowhere that I can't go. You see me, you see him. I'm like children in the flame though. It's because I follow him though. He the light to my feet, it's like flames what I follow. But let me stop for you heathos. I've been crossed many times, so yes, I know the payo. And forgive is where I ain't go. Told the brother get in line, giving shots like a needle. I've been sinning for real, murder, but I ain't killed for real. Shot for shot to seal the deal. Now I'm here to swallow the pill. Now I'm woozy, don't know how to act. Devil is mine, I'm fully attacked. My spirit to flesh had taken it back, and I ain't thinking about bringing it back. Tap, tap, I think I hear it right. The Lord come like a thief at night, but I ain't believe the hype. Yeah, like Saul when I seen the night, but had me feeling like Paul when I found the light. Cap, 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 cap. You say you love your people, but that's cap, cap, cap. You swear you don't be lying, but that's cap, cap, cap. You say you did atonement, but that's cap, cap, cap. I say cap, 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 cap. You say you love your nation, but that's cap, cap, cap. You swear you done with envy, but that's cap, cap, cap. You say you did atonement, but that's cap, cap, cap. I say.
So Peter said, if a brother sin against you, he offends. He does something unlawful. Could have took your money, could have tail-beared again. Any of those types. How many times should I forgive? 7 times? Because 7 was a complete number. What did the master?
Jesus said unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7.